Now, whatever you think about Cell Max as a character, and trust me, even from my personal perspective, it's not a great outtake. Cell Max is way stronger than we gave him credit for. The manga retelling certainly portrayed him and gave him a better depiction in terms of being a brute in terms of raw power. However, we know that this was an incomplete Cell Max. What about a complete Cell Max? He is simply stronger than we imagined, and I believe we will actually see a complete Cell Max sometime soon. So with Dragon Ball Super Chapter 100 concluding, it concludes the Dragon Ball Super manga superhero arc, basically the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie retelling that spanned the entirety of 2023. And I think I can speak for pretty much 99.9% of us that retelling was not what was needed in the Dragon Ball Super franchise right now, and because it wasn't needed, even if it was good in a vacuum, I'm talking about the manga arc, it was terrible in terms of the product enthusiasm surrounding Dragon Ball Super. However, it is done. It's done, and 2024 looks a bit more hopeful with the new arc, Sparkling Zero, and Dragon Ball Daima all due. However, because this arc's concluded, we've got to look at some of the characters. A lot of people are talking about Gohan Beast, but the manga portrayal, like I mentioned, of Cell Max definitely did, I wouldn't say was changing what happened in the movie, I would say it embellished upon what happened in the movie and clarified certain theories people had around Cell Max's power from the movie that weren't really articulated in a direct way in the movie. So obviously we know from the movie that Toriyama stated that if Cell Max had been completed, even Broly would not be able to defeat a complete Cell Max. Now that's likely referring to Broly using Super Saiyan full power. Whether you consider that the Broly movie Broly or a current Broly is up to you. Let me know down in the comment section. But Broly by Toriyama is used as the benchmark, and this sort of implied that a version of Broly can beat an incomplete Cell Max. We know that Gohan Beast can beat an incomplete Cell Max as well. However, given the manga retelling and the embellishments of certain areas of that particular battle between Gohan Beast and Cell Max, you could argue that Gohan Beast might not necessarily have had the raw power advantage over Cell Max. It was probably a lot closer than the movie depiction articulated, even though you could argue it was vague, but we'll get into the nuts and bolts of that right now. So in the manga, what we see is Gohan attain Gohan Beast, just as he did in the manga. Cell Max, as we know, had just been in quite a lengthy battle against Orange Piccolo, and before that he was facing off against the Gammas, who are stated by Piccolo to be at Goku and Vegeta's level, likely referring to the Moro Arc cells, because that is the last time we know Piccolo saw Goku and Vegeta use their power. And for those who state that Piccolo cannot sense God Ki, whilst that may be true, maybe he can scale other characters in relation to their power. For example, he could scale Jiren, as he was never stated to use God Ki in the Tournament of Power, and he can scale Moro, who he also saw on Earth, Prime Moro, Moro 7-3. Maybe he wouldn't be able to sense Morris due to him having an Angel's God Ki, but he may be able to hypothesize where the Ultra levels are from there. Of course, there's also the chance he does actually know how strong Granola Arc levels are. We just don't have that information yet in terms of the given circumstances written by the author. So the low ball is Moro Arc, Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, Vegeta levels, and probably Ultra Instinct Sign levels at a minimum based on performance. Now we know that the Gammas are no match for Orange Piccolo. Orange Piccolo literally did to Gamma 2 what Black Frieza did to Gas. And sure, you could say these are two different continuities, but it is the word of Toriyama. Toriyama stated Orange Piccolo is on the level of Goku and Vegeta, likely referring to Goku and Vegeta as of the current superhero arc. So that is Goku and Vegeta training on Beerus's planet with Broly right now. If they were to use their Ultra forms, Piccolo is likely on par with them with his Orange form. I have talked about this in previous videos. It's likely just a raw power comparison, nothing else. Now, that version of Orange Piccolo was no match for a Cell Max that had had his arm blown off by a character that was relative to, say, a Moro Arc, at the very least, Goku and Vegeta. And it was stated by Piccolo that that all-out attack by Gamma 2, given that he charged up for a while, it was likely an amped attack. Most self-sacrificing attacks generally are in Dragon Ball. It managed to decrease Cell Max's strength. Once again, this is an incomplete Cell Max. The reason he's an incomplete Cell Max is because he doesn't have control over his powers. The Gammas did talk about this in the manga explicitly, where they stated that Cell Max doesn't know how to use his powers yet. Now, this is why the Jiren comparison happened in the movie, because they talked about Jiren being fully efficient with his full raw power reserves, where he can use up to or close to 100% of his power extremely efficiently, and even Goku and Vegeta arcs later still don't have that level of efficiency over their full raw power reserves. Cell Max has literally just been born. He doesn't have a mind. He's been born basically mindless because he was born before he was supposed to be, and he has these raw power reserves. He just cannot use them in any efficient means whatsoever. That doesn't mean he can't go 100% at any random point. He just cannot use it reliably. Obviously, we know that Cell Max lost his arm after that self-sacrificial attack by Gamma 2. So it goes to say, as we know from the history of Dragon Ball and the consistency of previous Dragon Ball, that if you lose a limb or lose a body part or suffer a grievous injury, your overall key reserves drop. Piccolo pretty much confirmed that after the battle, as well as saying that they wouldn't have been able to beat that monster without the help of the Gammas. That also implies that even Gohan, fighting on his own, wouldn't have been able to defeat Cell Max on his own without the help of the others, as well as Orange Piccolo. So here's the kicker. Cell Max was incomplete, wasn't able to reliably use all of his power or any of his abilities or techniques, and we'll get into that in just a moment. He had his arm blown off, and yet he was still beating up a character that is a martial arts genius in Piccolo. Now, Piccolo does land a lot of hits because he is a superior warrior, superior fighter, but Cell Max still has the raw power advantage over Orange Piccolo, to the point where Piccolo's abilities and fighting ability do not matter. He still wins. Now, another point to mention is this Cell Max, because he doesn't have his mind, is constantly getting caught off guard by far weaker fighters. That's why the likes of Krillin, Android 18, the Gammas, Ultimate Gohan, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan in fact, Gohan in Trunks in the Super Saiyan forms, and then even in Base, Gotenks, Fat Gotenks, Piccolo, they're all catching him off guard constantly despite being at a complete raw power disadvantage. This is because Cell Max isn't a fighter in the current state he is. He just has an enormous raw power level, but at the same time, taking any damage in Dragon Ball will lower your power. So there's lots going for Cell Max to be weaker in the fight against Piccolo and against Gohan Beast. Then Gohan Beast, with his newfound power, lands 2 blows that send Cell Max completely flying. So obviously, you would be inclined to say, well, obviously Gohan Beast is stronger. Now, I'm not going to say it's not the case fully, but what I'm going to say is that Cell Max doesn't seem to take that much damage from these 2 attacks by Gohan. He is sent flying, sure, but he isn't down and out. And once again, this is a weakened, incomplete Cell Max with 1 arm. Imagine if he didn't lose that arm in the first place. Imagine if he didn't get weakened and he continued getting used to his abilities. Gohan then uses the Special Beam Cannon, which we know from even early Dragon Ball, amps power 3 times or more based on Piccolo's performance against Raditz in the Saiyan Saga. Piccolo's Special Beam Cannon actually amped his power more than Goku's Kamehameha amped his power against Raditz. And then Piccolo goes on to state about Gohan's Special Beam Cannon that it was brilliant, implying that it was refined to a high degree. Now, that may have amped his power more than 3 times. We can go for 3 times as a low ball, but here's another kicker. Rather than just Kamehameha Cell Max out of oblivion, if Gohan Beast was stronger than an incomplete one-armed Cell Max, he could have just Kamehameha'd him into oblivion. He still chose to go for Cell Max's weak spot and use the Special Beam Cannon to go for the weak spot. This isn't concrete, but you could argue that that was his only option, and that's why he went for that particular attack, because he may not have had enough raw power to completely defeat Cell Max in a battle of raw power. So obviously, Cell Max unleashes an attack of his own and Gohan counters with the Special Beam Cannon. We get a bit of a beam struggle. Now, this is usually a good signifier of which is the strongest character, because one character will eventually overpower the other characters, showing that their power was superior to the others. However, with this particular beam struggle, and we have seen this in the past, and it is talked about in the Super Exciting Guide, which I'll make a video explicitly about in the future, that the Special Beam Cannon is more like a piercing attack, similar to, say, a Krillin's Kienzon or Destructo Disc, where it has sharp edges and it can slice even stronger characters with a higher key level. Special Beam Cannon is essentially set up to be a drill attack, and as you see, it actually goes through Cell's attack, not pushes Cell's attack back into his face, as we've seen with, say, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan's Kamehameha against Super Perfect Cell. There's even a statement that refers to Gohan's Special Beam Cannon piercing through Cell Max rather than overpowering him and blowing him apart. Furthermore, during this beam struggle, Cell Max wasn't exactly free from any outside attacks. He was being attacked and held by Orange Piccolo. He was being attacked by Android 18 and Krillin, who were literally cutting his wings off, as well as the fact that Goten and Trunks kicked his arm and disrupted his focus in the beam struggle against Gohan. What if all of these things didn't happen? Do you think Cell Max may have been able to do better in that beam struggle? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. So obviously a lot of these things are hypothetical, but we can keep going back to the fact that this was an incomplete one-armed Cell Max under attack. And even then, Gohan had to still go for his weak spot and pierce through his attack rather than completely overpower him. Now, there is promotional material, especially from the movie, that states Gohan is the strongest after the events of the Cell Max battle. So I'm not going to outright say that Cell Max in his incomplete state is stronger in terms of raw power than Gohan Beast, but I do think it's far more relative. But consider this. Given that we know a complete Cell Max is even stronger than Gohan Beast, imagine if Cell Max could control his power efficiently in, say, the way that Jiren does, and has full control over his moves, knows how to fight. He would be nigh unstoppable. Given we know that Orange Piccolo is on par with a current Goku and Vegeta, Cell Max would have no problem, if he was complete, decimating those two. Now, I think a 2-on-1 Goku and Vegeta with Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct would defeat an incomplete Cell Max. He gets caught off guard far too easily, and as warriors, they are far, far, far superior to him. But if Cell Max has been built in the same way the original Cell was, and now we're getting into the hypothetical domain, he would likely have a lot of the programming concerning how the other warriors on Earth fight embedded into him. Consider that Hido would likely, potentially, have the data on the likes of Beerus, Golden Frieza, Morrow. Like Gamma-1 stated, Cell Max in his incomplete state didn't really know how to use all of his abilities and hacks at his disposal. He likely has regeneration as well, like the original Perfect Cell did. After all, this Cell Max is supposed to be superior to that Cell in every way. The original Cell Max could absorb people as well and increase his power. Does this Cell Max have that at his disposal? There's so many different ways you could go with it and so many abilities that Cell Max might know. Obviously, in terms of having an ultra ability that allows him to get stronger mid-battle and go past his potential and break his limits, I don't think that's likely. I think that's exclusive to these ultra forms. But given that a complete Cell Max would be stronger than Broly, whether that's Broly movie Broly or a current Broly, who we do know from the movie material is stated to be even stronger than Goku as of the superhero arc, given that he's supposed to be stronger than Gohan Beast, who's stronger than Orange Piccolo, who's relative to a superhero arc Goku and Vegeta, it's likely that Cell Max would one-shot even Black Frieza, and dare I say it, maybe the first unfused character to truly be at Beerus' level in terms of raw power alone. But I guess he has the same problem as Broly, is that they cannot use their power efficiently and reliably, so that will be taken into account. Anyway, guys, that's all for today. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Smash a like on the video if you think a complete Cell Max will eventually turn up in the Dragon Ball Super series, maybe the next arc. After all, the manga adaptation did embellish Carmine surviving, and he likely has the blueprints for a complete Cell Max. Smash a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Until next time, Ad Astra.